another journey. And this journey is amazing because prior to the interview, we was just talking about technical things because I love technical things, and he's helping me understand my setup because, as you know, my setup's not always brilliant. As you can see, I'm going to just experiment. Look, I can do this hopefully while doing this live. If you notice, I'm going to my. Does this shows how live I am? This shows there. Is that right? No, that's better. Yeah, that's good. So, like, share, comment, wherever it is. Anyway, our guest today is M. Curtis McCoy, and he's a personal branding expert, and he's basically been helping me prior to interviews, so we're going to be discussing that a bit properly. And he's helped successful authors, entrepreneurs, motivational speakers, podcast hosts like myself, and leaders expand their reach to massive audiences through interviews, and it's featured on Amazon Fire TV and Newswire magazine. He's in a nice studio, and you'll see that when he says hello. But we welcome M. Curtis McCoy to the journey.
David, man, I'm glad to be on your show. I sure appreciate it. And thanks for the kind intro there.
You're welcome. Now, as anyone's just saw that from that brief glimpse, your setup is better than mine. Yes, I'm still adapting to the circumstances around me where I can only have so much space because of where I am. But that's not the here or now, but it's about your journey. So tell us your earliest memories, and we will talk about my side as well if it's relatable, but tell us your earliest memories in your journey.
You mean as far as getting into personal branding or what I'm
Yes,
doing with personal branding?
everything.
Yeah, sounds good. So as you said, I help authors, entrepreneurs, podcast hosts, motivational speakers, anybody who's already crushing it in life and business. I also speak at events all over the country on personal branding, how to build your brand, how to get known and recognized. And then when I'm working with paid clients, their name out there, we're doing interviews on Amazon Fire TV, where we'll set up actually a remote video interview, kind of like this. And we'll go through and do an interview, really highlighting them as experts in their field. And then we also write articles in Newswire magazine, can even put you on the cover. And then we advertise on the 96-foot billboard in Times Square, New York. So really cool stuff like as your podcast grows, you may be a candidate to get featured where you're getting put up there and have your face on a 96-foot billboard.
And it's about that because I think podcasts, because I've been following podcasts ever since podcasts came out. And I think I was one of the very first people in the UK when I was in the UK to follow a podcast. And he's not as big as he was when he first came out because he's moved jobs, and he's still in the business now. But podcast is about attracting the right market per se, I would say, isn't it? Because you got to have the right niche, you got to find the right, like you said, marketing to promote yourself. And it's not always a case of do this, do that. You got to make yourself presentable.
Man, that's so right. So many people are looking for hacks, trying to figure out how do I get my podcast to grow. Or you'll hear, if you're on Instagram or any of the social platforms, people are reaching out on a weekly basis, telling you they can sell you fake listeners or they can sell you all this junk to get your podcast out there. But the biggest thing, whether that's podcasting or just personal branding in general, is to figure out how to solve a problem for somebody. Solve a problem, solve that specific problem for a specific person. So if you know your target client, like how you can help help the perfect person know their name, age, gender, their marital status, their political affiliation, their income level. If you're talking to somebody exactly like it's your best friend, you know exactly how to solve that problem for them. Other people that are listening, whether that's to a podcast, to social media, say reels on Instagram, other people that are listening to that can glean some kind of information from that. But solving a problem is the easiest way rather than trying to figure out, well, what do I talk about today? Just figure out how to solve the problem for that your best possible client. And
Yeah.
then everybody else can benefit as well.
And I know this plays a factor as well. People say sometimes hashtags will outgrow, but again, you got to know because not everyone knows about the right hashtags to put in a video or into a podcast. Now, on major sites, you don't get the hashtags. Yes, when you upload now to YouTube, because YouTube do promote podcasts, you do have to put the hashtags to make yourself grow. But
That's another one of those minor details, though, that you may or may not. I was on a call with our representative from Meta,
mm,
As you get to a certain level, getting enough traffic, you'll have reps from Meta. If you got a second, I'll read off some of these kind of insider things that are for one of our Facebook groups, for example, has
mm,
over 420,000 active members. But so she was talking to us about how to continue growing that. But as we were talking, she said, "I see you're not using a lot of hashtags in your posts, but she said that could help a little bit." Said people get too worried about what hashtags to use or how to formulate the proper description. She said basically the most important thing for any social platform as well as your podcast is providing value. So making that where people get on there and they start listening, and they go, "Hey, the Journey podcast with David Hackett is really awesome. I'm really loving what I'm learning here." And so the longer they're listening, the more people that they show it to.
mm. So it's just, I started off small. Now I've only had,
We
I'm
all
not,
do.
yeah, and I'm not boasting about my numbers because I know they're low, but I'm not there to say, look at me, I'm David, because that seems like a label that I want. But people say it's not about labels, it's just about identifying as yourself and being true to yourself. Now, like I said, I've done podcasts and only about two or three I can say top of my head have reached popularity because of the subject. But that's because I've been
Yep.
promoting it. Now, again, money is a factor, so I have to bear that in mind. But the groups I do share in, I'm very cautious about now because A, how legitimate are these podcast platform groups that say we will, we listen, we will promote you? How legitimate is that person messaging you saying stuff? I don't believe it personally,
Yep.
but at the
Well,
same
and
time,
most of it's not. I mean, everybody's out to make money somehow, whether that's ethically, morally, or not. And an easy thing to do is sell, like these people are doing right now to you, reaching out and saying, "Oh, we'll give you 10 million podcast listens for whatever the price is." That does not do any benefit for you. Let's say, are you familiar with a SIMRAC? I know
yeah,
you
I've
like
heard of it.
technology.
I've heard of it.
So there's one example that is, maybe that's accessing a certain website or whatever. But I don't know if you've seen the pictures. I mean, I got three phones on me here right now, and you'll see a lot of these people that are doing if they're selling you podcast listens or podcast subscribers, they may have 100 just junk old Android phones lined up, and so they're selling you listens. They'll get on and they'll have this whole board full of phones, bunch of wires plugged into the bottom into a surge protector or whatever,
Mm,
running the power, and then they pull up your podcast and they go through and they click listen, 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 or subscribe or whatever they're selling you. Clicking these buttons and they just leave the thing running to run the numbers up. But your benefit from doing that, anytime you're trying to game the system, you're basically putting yourself not only in jeopardy of getting de-indexed or where you can't be seen, but also if that was free, if somebody would jump on if I could gain 1 million Facebook followers tomorrow and it was free, I would absolutely turn that down, because what good is a fake follower, a bot, or like this kind of junk? People, it's not fooling anybody when you see somebody on Instagram that's got 1 million followers and they're not producing good content.
yeah.
You know that they didn't earn the followers. But when you watch somebody that's got good quality content, you're asking good questions, you're having good conversations with leaders who, are helping your audience, you'll grow automatically.
It's
I
like,
think you're on the right track, and
mm,
I'm really looking forward to hearing you grow as you continue to have
thank,
keep
thank
having
you.
good conversations.
Thank you. And I will make sure you have the link so you can follow that journey. But I know, this is an example, TikTok. That's the up and coming app since, COVID was here, the pandemic. And yes, there has been times, and I'm not going into the politics of it, there was times where they said we don't want TikTok. But there's people that go in groups and they will say, like for like, where we'll follow you, and it will get you to a
Yeah.
thousand followers quicker. And then when you just do natural videos up and record them, not live, you're not gaining anything from it. You're just gaining from when you go live. So it just grown naturally. It's like, I know example, there's one person who wanted to get to 1,000 followers, which they got. Now they got 125,000 followers, but I don't believe all those are naturally following that
Yeah.
person because I don't believe it's natural.
Well,
Now,
I mean, the easiest way to tell is look at the conversation when you get on. If you pull up your Instagram account or your TikTok account and you're watching, you pull up some leader on there that is really just crushing it. You're looking at the quality of their stuff they're putting out. Like, man, this is top notch. This guy's solving a problem. I could continue to scroll this account for hours. You get stuck watching their stuff. That's exactly why they're growing. If somebody gets on, you watch their video 6 seconds into it, and you're going, that's hard to keep watching. You want to scroll by, and they have 100,000 or they got 1 million followers or something. You know for a fact that that's accounts that they bought because if you're not interested and you think the content is lame, so does everybody else.
and I personally think that account wasn't grown naturally. So I think in their eyes, it's lame, but I'm being very opinionated on that because I have my beliefs. But it just seemed ridiculous and then it just made me laugh when that person did get to 1,000 and they went live, they got banned that same day.
Oh, geez.
Because back in the day, TikTok was very particular about a certain thing, and because they broke that certain thing, they got banned for 7 days.
Oh, geez. That's no good.
So, but they kept growing. But like I said, I just felt like it wasn't a natural growth. So that's my personal take on that. And I know when I used to use that particular, I wasn't on there long, but I understood it. I just understood you had to be yourself, but at the same time, when you went live, that's the time to be yourself. But when you're doing, like this, it's being recorded, what we're doing now, it's good. If this was going out live, it'd be even better. But obviously, with technology, I'm not doing it live, it's recorded, and that protects myself.
Gives you a chance to edit.
Yeah, but I do allow the swearing, so I'm always opinionated. If you want to swear, swear, and I do put
Yeah, I don't.
and I
I
do put
don't,
the
but
explicit. But I don't support it. I don't swear if I can help it, unless I'm really frustrated. Or if it's really
I gotcha.
opinionated where people do have to swear, I do allow them to have that voice. So,
Okay.
so being a motivational speaker, because I done motivational speech as well, is that a key thing that you find helps those leaders, those people you talk to? Because I know when I reached out to those people I reached out to, I was only talking to 1,000 people when I did my major speech. That was when I was leaving
That's a
school.
massive audience, man. That's huge.
That's how many was in my school year when I left school. And that was
Okay.
20, and that was 24 years ago. I don't know how big the school is now because I haven't counted and I haven't gone that back to school. But I know it's a fact, just, that amount of people. And I was like giving this speech about, a motivational speech. And I said, you can. And I then used another poem and I gave my speech and said, you can if you think you can. Now, most people believe that, but at the same time, most people were laughing. Now, when you give speeches yourself, do you believe people are there to listen, or do you think some of them do laugh and then you get that feedback from people saying, did you know that people were laughing when you spoke about this?
Man, if you have practiced your speaking, you've practiced your presentation and you're talking about something you truly believe about, or and you truly believe in, you truly are expert in that topic or that subject or whatever. Um, like at the events, people never pay to go to an event and hope that they waste their money. They hope the speaker sucks. So if somebody's sitting in the audience, they're not ever hoping that you fail. I mean, it's unless you get up and you're talking about something you don't know. You'll see this a lot with people that are like the life coach, people that haven't achieved anything in their life, or business coaches, because they're talking about they're a success coach and they're trying to make their money teaching people about success when they have not done anything to actually become successful in their own life. That's a scam. I mean, of course, people are laughing at that guy if he's not providing the value or not actually who he says he is. But
Yeah.
if somebody gets up and we had a conference here a couple of weeks ago that I co-hosted and was the keynote speaker at, and people got up talking about their overcoming addictions, and someone was being abused or molested as a child, or having a spouse cheat on them, these different terrible things. But they were talking about their story and then how that related to our life as listeners. There was not a person there that, even though they weren't talking about success, they were talking about their real life. They were talking about what was really going on, and how they could help people, and how their story helped other people. And it was really an impactful, good thing to listen to. But I mean, we had 8 speakers there that were sharing about these terrible things in their life. There was not a single person in the audience that was laughing at them. They're just going, "Oh, that's." I could see how that would relate to my story, even though I hadn't had this other stuff go on.
And it's a thing you can take lessons from, obviously, because when it
Yeah,
is the serious stuff, you do relate to it in some way, or you can understand it from another point of view because you've heard someone talk to you about it. So it can be relatable in that sense.
yep.
So obviously, you do what you do now, and obviously, you're happy doing what you're doing. Do you feel like it's got easier over the years since you first started?
So it's got easier as we've grown larger. So, for example, with when I first started the company, Newswire launched in 1997. I bought the company in 2018. And like any business, when you're starting out a new company, you're trying to figure out how to make money. It was a lot more difficult when we had somebody that was a client who was not a who wasn't really helping people, or somebody that we knew wouldn't benefit our audience, but they were willing to pay to be featured. We still had to turn those down. So, for example, I had a guy one day that was a big time author, like super successful author. He had sold over 2 million copies of his last book on leadership. I mean, big dog. 2 million copies of books sold is crazy successful. But he had started experimenting with psilocybin, LSD, talking about microdosing these different drugs. And a ton of my audience is Christian. They're people who believe Jesus died for our sins. And so we're listening to this guy. I'm doing this interview, and this author is telling me how he's experimenting with these drugs. And he said he was doing mushrooms and crawled under the table and found out that he was God. So it had this whole ridiculous conversation. But on that one, this is real new in my journey. When I just started the company, I was still tens of thousands of dollars in the hole, trying to make some money, get out of it.
Mm.
And this guy is told me this crazy story that was not at all going to benefit my audience. And it also made him look stupid for, if I would have shared this, it would not have been a good thing for him, where his audience are people who are looking for leadership advice, when he's talking about being on drugs and this whole mess that he was into. So I told him, hey, listen, we're not going to air this. I'm going to go ahead and refund you 100% of the money here, because this is not going to help either one of us. That's one of the things when you're, as it goes along, when your business grows and you've got enough people coming in, where you've got enough contacts, enough connections, enough business leads, you can start turning away ones that aren't your perfect client. So
Yeah,
that's how our business has grown, right?
yeah.
As we come along, where we've getting better and better clients to feature, and lets us kind of weed out the ones that aren't top quality.
And I understand that because obviously, where you found my podcast channel, and I'm not promoting this in any way, through matchmaker.fm. Yes, you get podcast people on there. Yes, you may get the odd few guests on there that might be genuine. And I'm not saying all of them are not genuine, but you never know what to expect. Now, I did a podcast 2 years ago now. I think it was 2 years. Yeah, 2 years ago. He was passionate about what he believed in. I allowed him to talk because I believed it was fair for him to have a fair speech. I uploaded it. It was a 2.5 hour podcast.
Wow.
But he was passionate about what he believed in. So I allowed it. Now, I'm always cautious now, so I do put on the booking page 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, 1 hour, because I think that's fair for everyone then, because if it goes into 2.5 hours, even if you are passionate, who's going to listen to a podcast for 2.5 hours? You
Yeah, man,
get you
that's a
get you get radio talk shows for 2.5 hours. I'm not a radio talk show. Yes, I've been part of a radio station. I understand talking for 2.5 hours. I talked to one person on the radio station when I was on the radio station for 1 hour. It had no music. It couldn't have any music. So I
Uh,
understand that both sides of a coin. I could, if it had music, yes, it would broke it up, but I couldn't. And when I did a 2.5 hour interview, I can add music because the rules are you can't add music. And it felt like I'm
uh,
not, and like I said, if he's when he does watch or listen to this, if he ever does, I don't think he does, but if he does, I'm not criticizing him. I felt like I was just a Reverend man standing next to Reverend chart, and he was talking about what he believed in, and I was the Reverend man pointed to the ethos of what he was talking about.
that's kind of weird, huh?
But it's a lesson learned. But trying to upload that in one go, I had to condense it. This is where the technical talk comes in. I had to condense it to make it fit into the remit of YouTube because if YouTube saw it was a big file, it wouldn't allow it. So I had to shorten it down. And the interview I kept as it was, but condensed the file size. It felt very condensed, but
With what handbrake?
yeah. And it just felt, I don't know. Like I said, I knew he was passionate and I respect he's passionate. But 2.5 hours just pointing, and I don't, yeah, you can see my fingers disappear to EPOS, but it's like me pointing to that man, and it was pointing to the lady, ear. It's like, so I can understand. But, motivational speakers, you go on, watch our Apple keynote. They go on for like 2 hours sometimes. That's because they know what they're talking about and they know how to break it up. And I don't think that's ever live now because when they say rejoice such and such, and when they present it, it's like a different ball game. It doesn't feel like it's live. And that's not being
Yeah,
that
I got
against,
you.
and that's not being that against Tim Cook, but it just feels like it's a pre-recorded, here you go watch. But when you do things
Man,
like
that
this,
guy is a phenomenal speaker, Tim Cook.
he is.
Yeah,
And I've listened to a few of his notes even before he was Apple CEO, and yeah, I can see why he's so popular because he is popular, and not just because of Apple, because he took something that,
branding.
yeah, and he took from what he learnt off the late Steve Jobs, and
Yep.
he made it his own. And now you get excited every time you see him when he does talk because you're thinking, is he wearing something new on him, or has he got a new phone on?
Yep.
So your way of interviewing people and talking about technical things, it's amazing because you helping that person understand. So someone like me, yes, I'm used to technology, but before the interview, you gave me some tips about it just in light. It's not as well as it was before, but I'm still looking like I've got a massive suntan, but I'm learning these
And you
things.
don't look quite as transparent as you did before.
Yeah, I'm not a ghost everyone. Look. So you work for Newswire magazine, and obviously I haven't read the magazine, and I probably will try and find one to read one day. Do you feel like your listenership is, through the readership, gone better since you took over?
So when I bought Newswire, like I said, Newswire launched in 97. I bought the company in 2018. Newswire was just a press release distribution company. So that's where you would, you write your own article, you submit it, you pay, hopefully that it gets picked up by magazines and newspapers, those type of things. So Newswire still exists, but now we also have Newswire magazine that we launched in, I believe it was 2022, 21, maybe, where we're interviewing these leaders that are, very successful. And the process on how that works, if you were trying to get featured in Newswire, I'm gonna go through that real quick. How your audience could get featured.
A few moments later.
Um, but yes, we'll do this interview, and then have that all written out into a full article about you in Newswire magazine.
Mm.
Then I pay to advertise you on the Times Square New York billboard, 96-foot tall billboard, and do all that kind of stuff to try to blow your name up. Make sure that people make sure you're the guy that people find when they're searching for the person that solves yours that does the solution or does the offers the services that you have.
Mm. So that is just clever because, like I said, it's not about doing this anymore. It's about taking your time to understand. Like, I know when I was a producer, because I was also a producer on the radio show, I had to help a presenter because they didn't know anything about a certain person. And that was good because I knew the stuff. And then it was like, you're the one that is the serious one. I'm the one who's like this. I'm like, no, you're still you, but I'm still me. And his presentation was the fun side. He was excited. He was only 16 at the time. I was 26. So I was the senior one to him, but he was excited and he said, "We're not going to see that person." I said, "Yes, you will. You're not going to physically say hello to that person, but I will do our best to get close to that person." So
Hmm.
I went to the press enclosure, which they set out. This was outside as well. So it was both on my phone. It was my phone I used. And I said we didn't have even press ID. We just said, we're from such and such, and can we come in?" And they said, "Yeah, sure, come in." Even though we didn't have press ID. So we got that close to where we was meeting that individual and they walked past us. And my most infamous words on that was, "We're within sneezing distance of that person." And
Within sneezing distance.
yeah, not within distance, within sneezing distance. And that went out on the radio and I couldn't believe when I wrote it back and they were like, "Sneezing distance?" I said, "Yeah, I did say that."
I like it. That's pretty funny.
But what made it even more funny is it was the late Queen Elizabeth II.
Oh, geez.
So I was saying something, if the Queen heard, it was improper because you shouldn't say you were within sneezing distance of Her Majesty. So, but it just made me laugh because I was taking the lead. He was next to me. He was excited because he was 16. He was like, "Ooh, you got us into the best enclosure." And like, here he is, he's talking. And then he passed me back and I was like, "Yeah, she's passing right past us now. She's within sneezing distance." And she was literally walking right past us. And I don't know if she ever, but I met her when I was 15. So I understand she might not have heard straight away, but I just remember you have to keep that decorum. So I said it in such a serious voice, but it was within sneezing distance that made me laugh.
That's funny.
So
That's awesome, man.
going into the future, obviously you're doing what you're doing now. Do you see it getting better for individuals? Do you see it getting worse for individuals? Do you feel like it will be remaining the same?
You mean personal branding?
Yeah.
So I love this. There were so many things that made it very difficult for you to tell if somebody was legit or not. The more we get with AI and all this, AI is not actually intelligent. There is no such thing as artificial intelligence. It's just a tool that's summarizing the all publicly available human knowledge. So if you ask a question, it's taking everything that's already on the internet and formulating a reasonable answer from the sum of all the posts. But personal branding, years ago, it was so, with social media and stuff, you'd see so many guys with, sitting in front of the rented Lambo or, acting like they're successful because of the stuff that they got there. And then people are finding out later that was just a farce. But with social media, with them prioritizing the continuous ongoing uploads and stuff, it really helps a lot where if you're following a guy who is posting every day, say 3 to 5 times a week, posting good, valuable, whatever, that's some type of comment or content that's helping people, the person that's continuing to post ongoing is the one that'll stay up in the algorithm, where the folks that are trying to rent a Lamborghini and post one post a month, you're not even going to see those people anymore. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's getting easier as the requirement for the amount of content is going up, because you can't uphold a fake life at scale like that. Like, you would have to just getting on and doing the actual posts.
Yeah, because I always say send me, to like you sent me a bio. I took the notes of the bio, which I can easily interpret into the description when I upload, which I will do. But at the end of the day, when I interview people, I believe in just letting people talk about themselves because Yes, it's me interviewing, which is a good interview if you want that sort of thing, but it's not about, me. It's about you. And I believe if you tell me you, I understand you better because if I ask you a general question, you're like, I've heard this 10 times already. Why do I need to hear it? So I let it be a natural flow where you tell me.
Smart. Yeah, you're holding a good conversation there.
And sometimes it can be difficult when the signal drops out. But I most probably will keep that in just for the sake of auditing because I like to keep it raw as possible. And
Okay, nice.
and I'll put something in the middle to make it sound like, please stand by.
Oh, that's funny.
And I will do that. I always will make it funny. It's like I have had to drop out, not recently, so touch wood only today, but it's like when it has happened, I keep recording it, or if I do realize it kicking it out, I will actually, before I know it's starting, I will say, you know, cut it to a cut scene of please stand by. I last one I used, I think, was from the game Fallout, where it says please stand by, and you got like the effect of please stand by on from Fallout.
I've never played it. I haven't.
It's like a old TV, test card
Okay,
where it says please stand by. So
okay,
I'll keep that in that gap and make it funny.
nice. That's
So
awesome.
going to the future, we talked about AI and trying to be true to yourself. Do you feel like AI will be the ultimate thing in years to come, more stronger than it is now, or do you think it will be along the side the same level as what we are now?
So AI, like we mentioned earlier, AI does not actually artificial intelligence does not exist. It's everything that's ever been published online. Summarized is the answers that you're getting. You ask the correct prompts and you get to write something along the lines of what's already public knowledge. Um, I mean, of course, AI is going to keep growing. We started using the not publicly available artificial intelligence, call it AI, back in 2017, I believe, with when we were just getting started, maybe 2018, when we were just getting started doing the articles and stuff. Um, but I think the best way to use AI, really make it work for you, is say you're doing a blog. For example, you have your own website for this podcast, right?
Blogspot, yeah,
So let me look here at your site.
which is wise upwards from me.blogspot.com.
Oh, so it's a blogspot
Yeah,
site. Okay. Um,
and it should. I haven't changed it for a while, but I know it's on there.
so one thing you could do to really help drive some additional traffic is when you've got a podcast guest on your show. Say, for example, you got me on your show, and it was tell me your URL again.
www.wisewordsfromme.blogspot.com.
Wise words from me.blogspot.com.
Yeah,
And then if
that's
you added an individual page for each show. So for example, when you interview M. Curtis McCoy, you go /M. Curtis McCoy, make that the show title. Now you take that article or take your YouTube video, upload that to YouTube, then pull the transcript, scroll down to the bottom, click the transcript section where it says show transcript. It'll pull up your entire transcript. You select that entire transcript, copy and paste that into ChatGPT, and then tell that to summarize this transcript into into readable form where it's got the correct spelling, punctuation, single space after a period, proper capitalization. So then you take that transcript chat, plug that into another GPT window, tell it summarize this chat, and create an article outline. Then it writes the article outline about the topics that we talked about. Now the next prompt is to say, take this article outline and write a 2,000 word blog post about this interview. So now in just a few steps, you got maybe 60 seconds into it. ChatGPT has summarized the article, listened to everything we talked about, as far as the words go, wrote that into a properly formatted blog post. You copy and paste that onto your blog post, onto your blog site with the YouTube video URL at the top. So now you've got your YouTube video. When they Google M. Curtis McCoy, they find your site that's got the article about me, linking back to my site. And now you're getting traffic from search engines that were never looking for the Journey podcast. If they're looking, they just happen to find you because they're looking for me or another guest that you've hosted. That's a really quick tip that you can use to start driving a lot of traffic to that website and make it to where you can start monetizing and making money off of that, off of each of those podcast interviews.
And if you get 5 minutes, can you email that instructions how to do that to me? Because it'd be useful for me to follow.
Sure. You'll probably need where you actually own the URL to make that useful.
Well,
because right now, if it's
at Blogspot,
if it's .blogspot.com, you don't own Blogspot, and so you're not actually getting the benefit from the traffic. All the work that you do right now is just boosting Blogspot's domain authority. You need to have your own domain where you own your traffic. And
it will be probably, like I said, when money does get more stable.
Yeah. So, I'd be happy to help with that. Help you get some tips on.
And you can send any information to me, obviously, for that. Now,
cool,
obviously, people might want to reach out to you like you helping me, and I know you've probably given advice to these people listening, watching, whatever they're doing. If they want to contact you direct, what's the best way they can contact you? Or is there any way they can follow you for your information?
So I say this not meaning to sound egotistical or whatever, but the easiest way to get a hold of me is Google me. I've got over 700,000 active followers combined on the different social media platforms, 150,000 plus on Amazon Fire TV. So whatever your platform that you like to be on, I'm on all of them: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, anything you look at there. If you Google M. Curtis McCoy, if I don't show up when you Google me, that means I'm not doing my job as a personal branding guy.
I love that. So I would like to say thank you for sharing your journey with us. I know we've had the interruption, but I will make it sound funny where it does interrupt. But thank you for sharing your journey with us today.
Cool, buddy. I appreciate you having me on the show, David.
Thank you.